This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Let the city transform part of an underused park and ride into a safe haven.
Coming up, the first 3 sites are picked. Find out if you're near one of the new spots Portland has sanctioned for homeless camps.
Then attempting a revival in downtown Portland. Portland State students are at the center of this effort with a street fair aimed at helping businesses that have struggled during the pandemic.
And you guys, it's Friday, it's October 1st, and we're throwing it back to Neen's freshman year.
Oh, look at that.
Look at all of us. Oh, wow.
Who's that ugly guy?
It's National Hair Day, and we're celebrating the different styles and patterns of all of us. We're going to take a journey through the follicles.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
I have had more incarnations of
Kind
hair.
of, yeah.
No,
Yeah, you have a lot.
We could do a 15-minute segment easy on just your hairstyles
Just
alone.
mine. You look the same.
I do. It was hard to find some different ones.
We'll
It's gonna
talk
be a
all
fun
about
Friday.
this, I think, in 20 minutes about it.
Did you hear me say Ben Stiller? You kind of look like Ben Stiller with the beard, Mr. Carter.
We want to go back to the picture, I know. But we can't go back there
can't
yet.
go back.
20
It's
minutes,
you,
we'll go
it's
there.
All right, it must move
Go.
forward. I'm walking to the weather wall over here. Hard to tell, but you can see, at least in the monitor in my weather computer, that fog is kind of nipping some of the downtown buildings here. 53 degrees out at PDX. So we do have a mix of low clouds and fog to start your Friday. We are dry. The whole weekend still looks like it's going to be dry. Temperatures have dropped off, which is why we're getting fog pockets. Now 43 in Hillsborough. Winds are light. Salem's still in the 50s, but it's 42 now up in McMinnville. So some chilly spots. To the bus stop we go. About 50 here in Portland out the door this morning. One of those days, do we have the sun at noon? You know how it goes. We'll wait and see. About 60. Eventually we will clear out. And temperatures when the kids get out of school right about 67 degrees.
All right, Rod, thank you very much. We have a promising update this morning for the treatment of people who've contracted COVID. Merck Pharmaceuticals is now reporting that the drug they have in trials to treat COVID is reducing hospitalizations and deaths by 50% in people who are in the early stages of infection. It's a pill, not a shot, that people take after they've been diagnosed. The independent group of medical advisors monitoring the trial says the results are strong and they recommend moving the drug out of trials early. Merck says they will now ask health officials in the U.S. and around the world to authorize its use.
Now to an update on breaking news that we had last night, another shooting in downtown Portland, but this one was inside an apartment building on Southwest 11th and Jefferson. Police say there was a shooting about 9:30 last night there. The victim ran into one of the units and the suspect was somewhere in the building, so the SWAT team was called out. They found one victim who was injured but refused medical treatment. Police say they never found the shooter after searching the building.
Well, the locations are in. I want to show you video of 3 vacant lots in Portland where officials want to open organized outdoor homeless camps dubbed Safe Rest Villages. That plan has taken a big step forward, but a lot of questions still remain.
We're going to start with 2 of those questions right here. Will the city be able to meet its own goal of opening 6 villages by next year? And the second one is, will neighbors push back? KGW's Maggie Vespa has more.
The city's Safe Rest Villages team are working day and night.
Amid a mounting housing crisis, Portland's plan to open 6 sanctioned homeless camps is taking shape. Thursday afternoon, Housing Commissioner Dan Ryan unveiled the locations of 3 so-called Safe Rest Villages. Here they are on a map. We'll start on the left. There's one along Southwest NATO Parkway, just north of I-405. Here's video of that site. It's owned by the Portland Bureau of Transportation as well as ODOT. Back to the map and moving southeast, you see site number 2 at Southeast 45th and Harney. Here's that lot. It's owned by the city's Bureau of Environmental Services. Finally, back to the map for site number 3 at Southeast 122nd and Burnside. Here's a look at that site, the Menlo Park and Ride, owned by TriMet.
We recognize the important opportunity we have here. Let the city transform part of an underused park and ride into a safe haven.
Commissioner Ryan says each village will house about 60 people. The city's paying for this with $20 million in federal COVID aid, and the plan is to keep the villages open for at least 3 years. Earlier Thursday, Commissioner Ryan talked about the selections during a taping of Straight Talk with Laurel Porter.
Why these locations?
These locations were selected. One, we wanted to make sure we had geographic reach. And two, we wanted to make sure we were meeting the houseless residents where they are.
That point perhaps especially true along Southwest NATO. People are already camping there.
I talked to some of the people living in tents on this lot, and I also talked to staff at businesses adjacent to the lot. None of them had heard anything from the city about putting a village at this location, and one staff member at one of the businesses was furious, and she said this could close us.
Commissioner Ryan said city staff began reaching out to neighbors Thursday. He also admitted there's a lot of work to be done. The city had promised to open 6 safe rest villages by the end of the year. Thursday, staff couldn't say how soon the first village might open or whether they're on track to meet that 2022 deadline.
Do you have a time frame for when you'll announce the remaining 3?
Yeah, I have a tendency to just say this is the goal, and we're going to stay focused on that goal, and we're going to do our best to get these open by the end of the year. And if we don't meet that goal, we'll just keep getting back up and keep pursuing.
Maggie Vespa, KGW News.
Similar situation on the other side of the Columbia. The city of Vancouver is also working to set up what they're calling supportive camps for people who are homeless. The city hopes to have 3 of these camps up and running by the end of the year. They would hold up to 20 tents and 40 people and would be enclosed by a fence or some sort of screening. The city wants to use these sites to offer basic services and support. Vancouver-based nonprofit Outsiders Inn will run the first campsite, but no specific locations have been named just yet.
The Portland Thorns and other teams in the National Women's Soccer League are responding to allegations of sexual coercion by a former coach. The Athletic published an investigation surrounding Paul Riley, who became head coach of the Thorns in 2013. The article spoke to players Riley coached dating back to 2010. They accused him of sexual coercion, often accompanied by heavy drinking as well as verbal abuse. Among those players are former Thorns Sinead Farley and Mana Shim. In 2015, Shim filed a complaint with the Thorns about Riley's behavior. Thorns owner Merritt Paulson said the team investigated and in light of the investigation did not renew Riley's contract. A statement from the Thorns yesterday said their investigation found violations of company policy but not unlawful actions. It went on to say, quote, "We will fully cooperate with any additional inquiries and more importantly, re-examine our own processes and protocol that are intended to ensure a safe space." Meanwhile, the North Carolina Courage soccer team, Riley's current team, announced it has fired him in light of these allegations. U.S. Soccer has suspended his coaching license. He has denied most of the allegations but did admit to occasionally drinking with players. The Players Union has called for an investigation.
Well, the Portland Marathon and Half Marathon returns this weekend after COVID canceled the event last year. 4,000 runners are expected to hit the streets of downtown on Sunday morning. All of them are required to show a vaccination card or proof of a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the race. Masks are required at the expo and on race morning in the starting corrals and at the finish line. 2 of the vaccinated runners we talked to say they feel safe competing outdoors.
Do you feel good about the precautions that the marathon has laid out for?
Oh yeah. They are requiring vaccination. You got to show your vaccination card when you pick up your bib number at the expo.
Absolutely, it's very low risk. I'm glad that we're back to being able to actually compete with people.
For many runners, this will be their first major in-person race since the start of the pandemic. And one quick note for drivers. If you are traveling in the area Sunday morning, both the marathon and the half marathon start at 7:10 and they cross several downtown bridges, so expect delays. The start and finish line is on Southwest Salmon, right near NATO Parkway.
If Chris McGinnis was filling in for you this morning, Rod, I would ask him right here, hey, Chris, tell me about some of your past marathon experiences. But since you are still here, I guess I'll just ask, have you run anywhere for any reason in the past 10 or 20 years?
But I do have an experience. I've watched that, what they call it, the church steeple, which is a big run. It's a part of the Olympic Games.
Yes.
I like watching that.
You're a good run watcher. Yes, you are, my friend.
Hey, by the way, good weather Sunday morning. Early temps will be anywhere from the upper 40s to low 50s. And generally speaking, I think it'll be a partly cloudy, nice morning. So that's great news, right? Not really expecting any noticeable winds or anything like that. Okay, we are entering a dry spell, just dry spell today, and possibly lasting all the way through Monday. Clouds out here should be holding off and then kind of breaking up as they come into our areas. So again, we don't have, I should say, rain in the forecast until the PM hours of Tuesday at this point. Futurecast does like morning fog and some low clouds, which we are seeing. So that's what this is showing here in the valley at 8 o'clock this morning. And then this predicts that goes away by noon, but you know how that goes. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you have to wait a little bit longer to get that sun. We do have fog over downtown Portland settling in. We're at 53 degrees right now. Most areas are reporting at least cloudiness to fog at this hour. Inland, we do have some clear skies in spots at the coast where temperatures have fallen into the 40s. It's 46 up in Astoria. And then it's partly cloudy to mostly clear in spots out east. Burns is the one spot that's down to about freezing this morning at 33. Well, if we get the sun early enough in the day, we will give 70 degrees a run for the money. This shows McMinnville hitting 70. Winds will be light from the north, generally speaking, and similar numbers up in southwest Washington today. It shows Longview 66, but Vancouver possibly reaching 70. 7-day forecast numbers for the first weekend of October, which will be dry. Afternoon sun, 70 today. Mostly sunny overall tomorrow, 75, including the morning hours. And then partly cloudy, 73 on Sunday. There's that morning temp of 48. Monday's dry. Late day Tuesday, rain comes in into Wednesday, and right now Thursday looks dry before more rain comes in for that following Friday and Saturday, and that's your forecast.
Wait, can you scoot over a little bit? I want to see Saturday and Sunday again. I'm just dreaming of the weekend, sir. Thank you. Well, coming up this morning, a downtown Portland revival. The hope is PSU students can lead the way and help businesses that have struggled during the pandemic. Plus, troubling claims online that you'll have to pay more taxes if you receive cash through apps like Venmo. Our Verified team gets to the bottom of this with the answer right after the break.